Well, hello everybody. It's a Sunday. It is Sunday the 14th, not a Sunday. It is Sunday the 14th of January, and I'm here at the car park on the Trevelyan side of Cataract Gorge. Cataract Gorge is one of Launceston's most famous landmarks, and I'm going to give you a sort of walking tour of bits and pieces of it. And this bit here is called, where I am at the moment, it's called the Maple Steps. And they lead down to some lawns and park places like that. This is the end of the first level of the steps, the Maple Steps, and you can see a picnic area, lawn area in here with some seats, well shaded. The bottom of the level of the Maple Steps just over here, and this is a pathway that eventually takes you down towards the town, but unfortunately that walkway is closed at the moment. Children's playground here, rotunda here, the toilets underneath. Some information about the history of the gorge and so forth in here, in the rotunda. And up there is the chairlift station, which I will show you in a moment. I'll show you the chairlift, not going to the chairlift station. Down onto another picnic lawn area here. These very colourful flowers. I don't know much about flowers, but I know these ones are hydrangeas because I have them in my own yard. There's a cafe across here. There's coffee and light meals. I think there's also a restaurant that's part of that that's open in the evenings. And the gorge is famous for many things, including the peacocks, and of course in that mating season the peacocks, the males, are full of displays and so on. They can be quite aggressive when it comes to food, so if you're sitting down enjoying a picnic here or enjoying your sandwich or something, the peacocks are not shy in coming forward and letting you know they want some. The gorge is famous for many things, which we'll get to in the rest of this tour, but here the giant sequoia tree is one of them. It's the first of several lookouts in the gorge. Below me is the Southeast River as it's flowed through the first basin, which is the large swimming hole there, and under the suspension bridge, which is further up there, and I'll show you in a moment, the free swimming pool, and hopefully you can see the chairlift, which I believe I'm correct in saying is the longest single span chairlift anywhere in the world. So there's pylons that support it on that side of the gorge, and pylons on that side, and the rest of it's just unsupported wire, obviously. There are lots of walking trails through the gorge here. Some are better maintained than others. Further up into that area and the area directly up there, there are tracks that are much more rugged and more suitable for mountain bikers and experienced hikers, but for people who just want to walk around the gorge, there are tracks like this that take you up to the suspension bridge, which is where we'll go, and then across to the other side of the gorge and even further along to Ducks Reach Power Station. I'm standing on the lower level of the Alexandra lookout. It's called that because it overlooks the Alexandra suspension bridge, which is off to my right. You can see the walkway that takes you over the causeway of the first basin to the other side of the gorge where the chairlift ends. There's also a cafe over there. Again, you can see the free swimming pool, and down below is what's called the first basin, which is a popular swimming spot for teenagers. I think adults not so much. The water can be quite cold, even in summer at this time of the year, but I have seen teenagers swimming in it quite a lot. I have swum in it myself once, and it was quite cold. But down below there, that's the Alexandra suspension bridge, and up to my right is the beginnings of the Southeast River after it's come through Trevelyan Dam. Hard to believe that in the 1929 floods this bridge was washed away, and then was subsequently rebuilt. On the other side of the gorge there, the walking track takes you up towards Ducks Reach, which is where the Australia's first hydropower station was built. It's been decommissioned now, but you can go and find out more about hydro up there. As I said, this is the Alexandra suspension bridge. I don't know why it's called the Alexandra suspension. Well, I know it's called the suspension bridge. I don't know why it's called the Alexandra bridge. It doesn't say on plaques there, but it was opened in 1904, and as I said, the floods of 1929 which are influenced. Kids up there, one's fishing, and this is the southeast river, as I said, that comes through from Basin Dam. And then the first basin. I can't see anybody swimming here today, but as I said before, I've seen teenagers swimming here. I'm on the eastern side of the gorge now, and you can see in the distance the Alexandra bridge that I crossed. Free swimming pool. I should point out there are no lifeguards there, so you sort of swim at your own risk and supervise your children. First basin, as I mentioned, this lawn and picnic area here. They often have concerts here in the summertime. A children's playground over here. There's a cafe above, toilets below it, and some picnic huts just behind the trees there. I had hoped to avoid walking up these stairs. At the top of the stairs is a thing called a travel inclinator. It's like a small railway carriage that holds about 4 people. It goes on a track down. I hope I can show you from the top. I'm not giving you a very good explanation, so I hope I can show you from the top what I'm talking about. This is the view from the top of the steps. I was hoping to avoid walking up. I don't know how well you can see this. It appears that the inclinator, that's that little carriage box thing in there, is not working at the moment. It must be turned off for some reason. I said it was open on weekends and public holidays from 9 o'clock I think till 7 o'clock. It doesn't appear to be working at the moment, but you can see there's a couple of tracks here, or a track here that takes you down to that lower level where I started from. I'm not sure why it's not working, but there's no signs indicating there's any problem under maintenance or anything, but it's just not working. You can see here people on the cable car. As I said, it starts on the western side over there and finishes up here where the payment station is. I think it's $12 one way and maybe $25 both ways, something like that, not exactly sure. The Alexandra Bridge ahead there, and whilst you probably can't see them in the footage, there are 2 people swimming in the basin now. Bearing in mind that I'm not a geologist and have no geological knowledge, I suspect this gorge was formed in a couple of ways. These hills on the side here may be the result of mountain building or uplifting of the strata, but I suspect also that the river, before it was dammed, was much more powerful, and the gorge was formed in part by the erosion of the rock by the southeast river as it comes through here. It comes from Basin Dam, which I said is further upstream there. Behind Basin Dam is Basin Lake, and then the water comes over the dam. It's just a normal spillway. There's no spillway to be open. It's just a normal dam that water flows over when it reaches the top of the spillway, and then comes down through this gorge to here, the first basin, and then goes through the causeway there, down through the town. And there's a walkway on the other side, which I said unfortunately is closed at the moment, and there's a walkway up through the hills there, which is quite steep, and then goes under the King's Bridge and joins the northeast river and becomes the Tamar River. And you can see the pool's divided into 2 sections. This section on the left, the depth at this end is 1.5 metres I think, and at the other end is 0.95 of a metre, so it sort of shallows as you go that way. I wouldn't like to guess at the length, maybe 25, 30, 40 metres. Certainly it doesn't look like 50 metres. On the other side is a much more shallow area. If the tidal is, nevertheless, your children are still your responsibility. There are some lifeguards I've just seen in the top left-hand corner under the marquee there, but there are signs saying the beach is not, the pool is not patrolled, and so you swim at your own risk and look after your children and so on. in 2016 there was some pretty severe rainfall and pretty heavy flooding, and the basin, water from the basin came up and filled this pool up with, the council had just sent their people out to clean it up and put around the fencing, which is not always here, and get the pool ready for summertime when the floods came. So they had to wait till all the water went down and come down and clean the pool out again, and it sort of knocked their plans around a bit, but that was 2016. I don't know how well you can see this on the footage, but there's a gentleman down in front of me dressed in a pirate outfit, and sitting on the edge of the pool there next to him is a woman dressed up as a mermaid. She looks like she's doing face painting or something like that. I'm not sure if there's some local festival going on that I don't know about, but we have Captain Sparrow, I guess, and his female companion. These are one of many, or two should I say, of many signs along the gorge walkway that tell you all about the flora and fauna and the geology and the history of the gorge. They've been placed by the Launceston City Council. There's another of those signs that tell you about the geology and the history of the gorge and so on. I don't know if I have time to read it just while I'm here, but this is First Nations interpretation of the formation of the gorge and these giant rocks, which are called the protectors of the gorge. You can see more of them on the other side there. Now up on this side of the gorge is a centennial lookout, which they say is a 50-minute return from Ducks Reach, which is a 90-minute return, so I'm not going to go to Ducks Reach. You see a couple of kids down there having a swim. The centennial lookout is just, as it says, a lookout. Ducks Reach, as I said, is the original. There's the first hydroelectric power station in Australia, and consequently provided light and electricity for the city of Launceston. It was decommissioned many years ago, but it's still open as a tourist attraction. It's free to enter, and if I remember, I'll put a link in the description for this video, so you can find it on my channel. Just down below there you can see a human-made causeway or weir, and a little bit further up there a natural causeway or weir caused by just rocks falling either into the river or being part of the original formation of things. It has a lot of traffic, this track, so you can see it's reasonably well worn. It is quite steep in places. Undulating, I think, would be a kind word to describe it. And there are lots of rocks and things. In some places like this there are steps that have been made or cut into the track to sort of make it a bit easier to walk down and walk back up. I know some of the more intrepid runners around Launceston like to run up and down here, but it's not one for me. I'm not. Now the trail takes a turn and it's uphill for a way, quite a sharp turn, and then up another turn to right at the top. I'm just coming to that now, and I think I'll be at the lookout fairly shortly. So this is the Centennial Lookout, it's called. See underneath, you're actually standing out over the gorge. Up in that direction is the Trevellyn Dam, further around that way, and Lake Trevellyn, and as you can see by the flow of the river down through here, through some cascades and natural weirs and so on, back in the direction that I come towards the first basin, the King's Bridge. Now, there's a reason that's called first basin, is because there's a second basin. I'm not sure if it's further up that way or we've passed it already, but of course it's not as accessible as this first basin. When there are heavy rains and the river's in full flow over the Trevelyan Dam, it's just a normal dam with water flows over. It doesn't have any floodgates to open, so once the water reaches the top of the dam, it just flows over. And so when there is heavy rain and the lake is full and the water's flowing over the spillway much more than it is at the moment, the width of the river, as you can see, is you can see the flat area that basically makes up the riverbed, and you might even be able to see across on the other side there some areas where loose shale and gravel, loose soil and so on has been carried up by the river and then left there after the water's gone down. So it can be quite wide here, but then it narrows as you go around here and other places down towards the first basin. Now, according to the sign behind me, the Ducks Reach power station is another 20 minutes and quite a rugged track up there. Very similar to this, but there's another suspension bridge over the river, and on this side of the river some cottages used to be the caretaker's cottage for the power station, and there was a cable car, not a cable, that's what you call it, a flying fox that was used to transport, before the bridge was built, it was used to transport men and materials across the river to the power station. Like I said, the power station was decommissioned many years ago, but it's still open as a tourist thing. You can go in there and find out about the station itself in Hydro, Tasmania, and then once you're on that side of the river, there are some quite steep steps that go up through that cliff there and around the back of the gorge into Trevelyan, into the Trevelyan recreation area. It's quite a rugged walk. Up above this bushland here, this is part of West Launceston, a residential area, lots of housing and all the facilities you'd expect in housing estates. I'm on my way back towards the first basin now then. You've got to imagine and bear in mind that I see that along the edge of the track there are lots of rocks being placed in to sort of make a shoulder and keep the track from crumbling away all the time. And I imagine this was all done by manual labour. In other words, there's no machinery to do it with, because first of all there probably wasn't machinery, and secondly to get it in here would have been extremely difficult. So I guess there were gangs of workers from council or public, or the equivalent of public works or whatever it was called at the time, that came in here and sort of carved out these tracks and made them. And with back-breaking work, because this soil, you can imagine this soil being quite hard, and hewing the rock out and placing it and so on was quite difficult. I'm coming up to an interesting little feature here that I don't know if it has a name or not. It's not shown on any trail or any map that I've seen as having a name, but you can see it's two large boulders and there's a smaller one sort of wedged in between here, creates a little, I don't know what you call it, tunnel, but certainly a little walkway here. You can just see the big rock wedged in there. This is the lower level walkway across the first basin. A bit further up there's a causeway, and water flows through the causeway down through the rest of the gorge. At the lowest level of the causeway here, I don't know how far you can see into the distance, there's a couple of kids up there on a rock that's used to jump off into the water there, so it's deep enough for them to be able to do that. There's some more kids on rocks over there, and there's someone just swimming underneath the suspension bridge. You'll be able to see a couple of ducks on the water here. And the water's, you can see, quite shallow here, but moving quite quickly by the way the algae and so on underneath is, following the pattern of the river. It comes out on the other side here, and then works its way about a kilometre down to the King's Bridge. You may not be able to see it very clearly, or even be able to hear me describing it, but up where I'm pointing, there's a fence that is a Cataract Walk, but unfortunately it's closed due to a rock fall, so we can't go down that way at the moment. Small ducks just here. You can see them in the footage here. This tree here is a Launceston cypress, which is native to California and Oregon. It was planted in 1894, and in 2014, when it was measured last, it was 30 metres tall. It apparently can grow to 60 metres in height and live for 500 years. I'm on the King's Bridge, which is the original road bridge that went over, the road bridge that goes over the Cataract, over the Southeast River, looking upstream towards Cataract Gorge. This is where the Southeast River flows under the bridge, and on the other side of the bridge there becomes the Tamar, which flows out to Bass Strait at Georgetown and Low Head, about I think 50 or 60 kilometres away. If you look over on the left hand side of the gorge, it's much clearer than on the right hand side, but on the left hand side there you can see a tide mark. The Tamar and southeast, this area is tidal from Bass Strait, and the difference between low and high tide is about 3 metres. You can see the watermark on the rocks going up the side of the gorge there. It must be about sort of halfway between high and low tide at the moment. But you can see how high the water comes just in a normal tide. Now, I mentioned earlier about the walk that's on the right hand side there that's been closed unfortunately because of a rock fall. The cottage there used to be the caretaker's cottage, but now it belongs to the council, and it used to be a place where an artist in residence could go and work and create an artwork which they would then donate to the council. The little pavilion was where you paid a toll, which in its day was a penny, to go through the toll there and walk up the Cataract Gorge to the picnic grounds. Well, that's my tour guide of Cataract Gorge and First Basin. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. If you're coming to Launceston or Tasmania, make sure that you come and see it because it is absolutely spectacular. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I look forward to talking to you again shortly.